welcome to the newest episode of the HaskinCast Podcast. I believe we are on episode 44. And as always, I'm very, very, very excited to bring my guest on this week. My friend Les Butts has been a product rep in the music industry for well over 3 decades, well over 2 decades, a long time. And he is one of the classiest, most generous, kind, well-spoken people in the industry. And I'm not only honored to call him a colleague, but also a friend. We met back when I was working as the operations manager at Pro Sound Music Centers in Colorado Springs before I moved up to Denver to work in a couple stores there and then eventually up to the corporate office. And he's a great guy, man. I mean, he was known as the Pearl guy back then because he was our Pearl drums rep, and then kind of went on his own and started doing work for a whole bunch of companies. His new company or newest venture, Big Groove Sales, can be found at www.biggroovesales.com. And that will lead you to his site, which shows you all the different products that he reps for. Most notably, Toca Percussion. They make a lot of Latin percussion instruments that are really super fun and cool, not expensive, and high quality, which I've always loved about them. He does work with Big Bang Distribution, which if you're a drummer, I guarantee you own at least 2 or 3 products that are distributed by Big Bang, all kinds of accessories, sticks, wraps, drum keys, all kinds of things that are very, very useful to us drummers. And now he's, in addition to guitar cases and different things, he's also moved into the world of ukuleles, which I was kind of shocked by. It's just not something that you think about. The only time I think about ukuleles, honestly, is when I go to the NAMM show and I go down to Hall E and there's about 30 different vendors with walls of these things in all different colors and patterns and paint. And then there's usually like one big vendor upstairs in the main hall that has like a whole wall of them, which are very, very beautifully decorated. But apart from that, they just don't even pop into my head. But they're a very, very popular instrument all over the world. They're inexpensive. They're easy to learn. It's only 4 strings, not very hard, not a lot of frets. So it's easy to learn some basic stuff and even play and sing. Of course, my favorite company of all the ones that Les works with, I will not reveal now. I'll reveal that in the show. I'll just say that I love this company. It's probably one of my favorite companies on planet Earth, period. I absolutely love the products that they make. I love the quality of them. I love the sound of them. Amazing. So you'll have to listen to the show to find out what the hell I'm talking about. So not too much going on. I'm getting ready to head down to Comic-Con this coming weekend here in Phoenix. Well, it's not called Comic-Con anymore. It's something else now. They've renamed it, but it's basically Comic-Con under a different name. Fan Fusion, I think it is now, which makes no sense. I'm not sure why they did it. Don't really care. It's a huge event. Hundreds of thousands of people are going to be there. And it's a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to touching base with my dear friend, Victoria Page, who's been on the show a couple of times. Justin Chung, amazing graphic artist. He draws these Star Wars trading cards amongst all kinds of other series. Great guy, high quality work. Looking forward to seeing him. I haven't seen him since, I think, the year that I did my panel at Comic-Con in Phoenix, which was 2014. So it'd be great to catch up with him. Summer Helene, who's also been on the show. She was one of my first guests. She does a panel there every year on horror movie distribution. I'm not sure if it's the same panel that she's doing this year, if she's doing something different, but it's always interesting to go and see. So if you're headed to Phoenix Comic-Con, that is, her panel is Saturday, I think around 7 p.m. Also, Amanda at Modified Minds does some amazing costuming. She'll be there as well. So go check these people out. They're absolutely wonderful, incredibly talented, great things that they put out into the entertainment industry. And I fully support each and every one of them as best I can. Known them all for many years and grateful to call each one of them my friends for sure. So this coming episode, since I'm going to be on a bit of a time crunch, I decided that since I'm going to work on the concept of doing episodes about each episode of Stranger Things that comes out for season 3, because I find it to be a fascinating show, both on the storyline, the acting, the production, the writing, all aspects of the show I find absolutely just entrancing, and I love it. I think they cast the show very well. I love the visual component of it. I think the digital graphics, you kind of expect that that's going to be top notch these days, but there's so much that goes into it, and I wasn't particularly happy with season 2. I thought there was a lot of things that really didn't add up for the characters. So while I've been doing other things, catching up on some of the digital work and things that I do, I rewatched seasons 1 and 2, and I mean, this is my third time through season 2, and I felt exactly the same way. So next week's episode is going to be just like an overview of the season 3 trailer, and kind of what my feelings and expectations are for the season. If you guys like it, let me know, and then I'll go ahead and continue once the show actually hits on July. I think it's either July 4th or 5th. This season comes online at Netflix, so we'll see. What else? So that's pretty much everything that's going on. I'm still working on the Addicted album. I'm actually in the recording process now. Very excited to have moved that forward. Kelly sent me the artwork. It's absolutely beautiful. I love what she did. Very different from my initial concept, which I'll talk about when I do the Addicted episode. But I really, really love her work as always. She just endlessly surprises me with every project that we do. I don't even know how many it's been now, 12 or 13 albums that we've done together. And so this is this is the first older album actually that I have revamped for re-release. So I'm really excited about this. I want to do one every year, if not more, if I have the time. Just depends on what's going on with some projects throughout the year. But definitely for this year, this will be the one, and hopefully, possibly another. We'll see. So before I get into the show and bring Les on, I want to talk to you guys about the new band and new album. The band is called Black Squirrel. The album is also called Black Squirrel. And I have to say, I heard the album after the episode. I really wish I'd listened to it before, because I could have asked him some more dynamic questions about the actual album. But I absolutely love it. It's got a great production quality to it. The writing is fantastic. It's really varied. It's not like when you buy, let's say, an Iron Maiden album, and you kind of know that everything's going to be hard-edged, driving drums, distorted guitars, brilliant singing, melodic. This is a kind of a varied album. He goes into this a little bit where he talks about the different styles that are on the album. And even though the styles are different, the album itself is very coherent to me. I think the mixing is a little bit off from one song to another, so it's not that I didn't particularly like. But apart from that, I think the album is absolutely fantastic. It's well worth listening to 700 or 800 times. And I found it on iTunes, but I'm sure it's everywhere. iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, Google Play, all over the place. But it's definitely on iTunes. And when you listen to it, if you like it, if you're happy with it, give them a rating. Take 5 seconds and go to the ratings tab and, give them some stars. Put a few words down if you like. The nice thing about iTunes is it allows you to do either. You can just put some stars down for them if you like, or you can also give an actual review or feedback on the album. But it's tremendous. I think his drumming's solid. The bass playing is very, very good. It's really tight between the bass and drums. And despite the way that they recorded it, you really kind of feel like they were together, the way that the album is produced. So definitely listen to it. Black Squirrel by Black Squirrel. And without further ado, I think it's time to bring Les on the show. Les Butts. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am really thrilled to bring on our next guest. Les, I realized I had to look this up before I connected with him, but I've actually known Les. I started at Pro Sound in March of 97. So it's been a while. And I'm really excited to have him come on the show. Let's welcome Les. Les, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Definitely. I'm fantastic. Thanks. I didn't realize how long you and I have actually known each other.
It's frightening, isn't it?
It's frightening. We've been doing this long.
Yeah, well, but we're still here to complain about it. So there you go.
Exactly. And you kind of branched off. You were an independent rep before, and then you branched off and started your own company. It was April of 2012?
Yeah, something like that. I was actually I was kind of back and forth. When I started this end of the business back in '80, I was working. I moved out from Texas to work for Schecter Guitars when they were based here in the San Fernando Valley. What I call the real Schecters, when they were making stuff for Pete Townsend and all the other big guys they were making stuff for. And then went to work for Paiste as a captive guy, captive meaning a corporate rep. And then I was independent again. Then I worked for Pearl for about 15 years as a corporate guy. Then I branched out and started doing my own independent thing.
Yeah, and when at the time that I started at Pro Sound, you were basically known as the Pearl guy.
I was the Pearl guy. Yeah, I was the Pearl guy. It was me.
Which was fine, because those are the drums I love the most. I've played a lot of different kits, and I can say, and I shouldn't say it because you're not repping them right now, but there's no kit that I've ever played that I've been able to get the sound out of that I enjoy as much as Pearl.
Oh, good. Well, I have a set that they did for me that I've had for probably 10, 12 years now, and I love it. And I've got all my old Ludwigs, all my vintage stuff, but that never leave the studio. But the Pearl kit, I get compliments on it all the time, and people say it sounds great. And there's so much good stuff out there these days. That's the other thing that's very kind of exciting about this business these days, is that there's so many good drum makers and good drum companies that you just almost can't get a bad drum. It's almost like you can't get a bad meal in San Francisco, that kind of thing. So
yeah. Do you find it difficult though, because you focus mostly on percussion? I know you've kind of started to branch out a little now, but since you focus mostly on production, is it a challenge to you to say, well, I have 4 companies that make a really good bass drum pedal. How do you pick one to recommend over another?
Well, it really varies on what the person wants and what the player needs. That's the thing I think gets lost too, is a whole kind of a customer service thing, that instead of just saying, here's the most expensive pedal, buy it, saying, well, how do you play? What do you do? What kind of music you playing? How do you play? And try to make it, one pedal may not be the right one for them, even though it's a great pedal. They all may be equally as good as far as quality and as far as, manufacturing and pricing and so forth, but, they all have little different tweaks on them. So being a drummer, every drummer has their own little thing, that they like, that's personal to them. So it's really matching the instrument to the player, I think. And, it's just like the cymbals or drums or anything. It's like, is that blue shirt better than that red shirt? Well, no, they're both good shirts. They're just different colors. So it's just a different feel and different instrument for a different person, different player.
Unless you're on Star Trek, and that red shirt is not going to be good for you, because that's basically your impending doom.
Exactly.
But you really, and I've always said about you, and I think this was pretty much the consensus from everyone at Pro Sound, was that you were always a very respectful person to the brand that you repped, but also the competition, because it's really easy to say, here's why you should buy my stuff, and really kind of turn the focus back on that. But whenever we talked about different companies, whether it be, Tama or other drum manufacturers, you were always very respectful to the other brands. And that's one thing I think has helped you sustain a career in this business.
Oh, well, thank you. I've never liked to badmouth other companies. I mean, the kind of a joke in the rep business is, don't badmouth them. You may be repping them next week.
That's right.
And,
yeah.
But it's like I said, everybody makes good products, and it's a small world, and you don't want to, it just makes you look cheap and makes you look unprofessional. I used to do trainings in stores and some of the bigger stores, and, I would bring up different lines, and they'd say, oh, no, I hate that. It's like, don't ever say that. Don't ever say that, because you may be selling it next week, and it just makes you look, bad. Just say, well, I don't carry that, but I have this. This might be what you need. Again, it's customer service and talking to, the person and making sure you give them the right thing for the right person,
I agree. And it was definitely something that I noticed with several of the reps that I knew back at that time. They would compliment the products of their competitors, but they would kind of lean in and go, well, they're really good when you first start working with them, but they use cheap circuitry, so they're not going to last you longer. They would make some kind of comment to put that negative connotation in your head. But what it really did to me was put a negative connotation about them in my head. Yeah,
exactly. Well, and that's very fair. I mean, now, unless there's something that, this unit does catch fire if you, play it for more than 10 minutes, that's kind of something that, I think somebody might want to know if it is indeed true.
Right.
But I mean, mostly it's like, that's, if there's a defect in the product or there's something wrong with it, it'll come out. The people will find out. And it's just, everybody has to stand on their own merits. And, the main thing about being a rep that I've learned after all these years is you have to sell yourself, that people have to trust you, and they have to know that if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it, and you take care of them, and, and never BS your way around product. It's like, one of the things is, what's that tapping noise? And I hear something like tap dancing in the background. What are you saying? And most people know about everything now anyway. Most people are, with the internet, and they've got so much information at their disposal that, most of the time they kind of know what's going on anyway. So it just doesn't do any good to badmouth any company for any reason,
Sure. I mean, the people, the consumers are going to do that on their own.
Oh, sure.
There's no shortage of people putting their opinions on Yelp and different websites.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's, and bad reviews, people love to talk bad about people as opposed to talk good about them, and it's just so much more fun, I guess. I don't know.
That's kind of the world we live in, though. I mean, if you look at the news or any, media sites, everything's about what's more sensational, what's going to get people to come back after the commercial break. And that's controversy. Anything that's like, whoa, what happened there? As opposed to, hey, somebody was walking down the street, they saw a cat in a tree, they got the cat down and gave it to the owner. That's a feel-good story.
Exactly.
But you're not going to hear that unless the person broke a limb falling out of the tree.
Exactly. Well, plus everything is breaking news, for God's sakes. I mean, not to slam CNN, but I mean, it's just like, everything is so, that's what it has to do to keep, like you say, keep our imagination, or keep our attention rather, because it's just, there's so much out there,
I work very hard to keep myself as free as possible of those kinds of things, because it doesn't serve me to know most of the things that go on in the world. Especially as an artist, it can kind of drag me away from wanting to be creative. But it just doesn't serve me. And I grew up just outside Detroit, so you're familiar enough with that area. You know that it's a lot of crime, and the news was mostly, body in an alley, baby in a microwave, puppy slaughter.
Right.
Why do I need to know about those things?
Yeah, exactly. I don't need to see the pictures of everybody that got shot and got, I don't, I know what happens. I don't need to know about every little detail of it. So
right. Now, there were certain things I have to admit I have felt a little more connected to. I mean, I was working at the Littleton Prostown, which was right down the street from Columbine when that was going on. So I had a little bit more of a connection to it. Not that I was there or had anything to do with it, but just because it happened right where I was.
Oh, sure.
And obviously, the Vegas shootings and that. But I really, apart from those kinds of things, I really just try and stay away from it. I want to stay happy and creative and positive and uplifting, and you just can't do that being sucked down by the world.
Yeah, it's a tough job these days to be somewhat happy, and somewhat positive, because sometimes you just want to slap some people. It's like, shut up, stop it, just move on.
Yeah, and if that wasn't going to cause me problems of getting slapped back, I would probably do it a lot more.
Well, that's the problem. Is when you slap somebody, be prepared to be slapped back. And,
that's right. Yeah.
I mean, even though I'm 6'4", I can still be slapped back pretty hard. So
Well, yeah, I don't think there's probably too many people that are going to take a chance on messing with you, but there's always going to be somebody.
Of course.
But do you find that challenging? Because you're out on the road a lot. I mean, you live in California, but you rep in California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of being out on the road and kind of isolated to the conversations that you're having with people. Do you find it depressing sometimes?
Well, sometimes. I mean, but I toured in the 70s quite a bit, around Texas and Oklahoma and Colorado. But that was not being out by myself. I was with a band, but it was still kind of that, nomadic lifestyle. I enjoy the long drives. It gives me time to think and just kind of be, just a little more peaceful. But yeah, I mean, it certainly gets lonesome. I mean, you wake up in a hotel and I don't know how many times I've had to look at the phone to see what the area code was to see where I was,
Right.
And it had nothing to do with the night before. It had to do with, being up and down airplanes. And, at one point in my sales career, I was, on a plane probably 2 or 3 times a week, going to different, places. Now I pretty much drive everywhere I go, which is a whole lot easier, just a whole lot more. And plus I think it's safer, without going through airports and having to go through security and all the other crap you have to go through to get on a plane these days. But it's not. I mean, it's what you make it. I mean, it can be depressing. If I've known reps that go, when they're on the road, they just stay in their hotel room. They get, take out food and sit in their hotel room and don't go anywhere or do anything. And I learned a long time ago. I mean, I was going to, San Francisco and Denver and Las Vegas and San Diego and Phoenix and all these wonderful places. And I thought, why should I stay in my hotel room? I'm being paid to be here. And if I look around at all these other people, I'm saying they're paying to be here on vacation. Why shouldn't I be out and enjoy it?
Yeah.
And if I go to a restaurant, I'm sitting at the bar having a glass of wine. I've met so many interesting people and talked to so many, really wonderful people that I've met all over the place. And it's just then that's part of being a salesman. You yak, you talk. And it's just it's really interesting to if I stayed in my hotel room all the time by myself, it would be depressing.
Yeah.
But I tend to get out and see the sights as much as I can, within reason.
Well, and you're living it. You're going to live the life and experience what you can, because it's here and gone too fast. You might as well take advantage of the time instead of sitting there watching a rerun of Gilligan's Island or whatever they have on the hotel TV.
Exactly.
Have you ever thought about writing a book about those experiences?
I have. I started keeping a diary a little bit and keeping a journal or whatever you want to call it. And I've stopped, and I need to do that again because, as life goes on, I'm looking at different things and thinking, I had a couple of fun things happen, and a couple of things that were pretty good. And I probably will start writing more things down just to have them there for posterity, I guess. I don't know if anybody would care, but it's life on the road is fun. It could, I sit at home, and if I'm home for a long time, I get antsy to go on the road. And then when I go on the road, if I'm out for like a week and a half, I go, God, I sure would like to go home, So it's a balancing act, I try to make sure wherever I'm going, wherever I'm going to end up that night is going to be, a nice place to hang. And like I'll stay in Pismo Beach for one night, because I have a place I found that's inexpensive there, and I'm looking at the water, and that relaxes me. Or, and I try to stay in the same places all the time so they know me, and it's more like another home away from home kind of a thing. That helps with the the separation anxiety, I guess.
Yeah, because you get really comfortable where you're at, when you're seeing familiar faces. I mean, there's always turnover, but having that consistency is really good.
Yep.
Yeah,
and that's been a big part of my travels. That it's nice to go back and not just from an ego when they say, "Oh, Mr. Butts, how are you? Good to see you," or "Hi, Les, how are you?" And they know who I am, and it's and it's. Yeah, so it helps. It helps a lot.
I think one thing is, as we move into all the changes that are going on in the world, I think the thing that's really going to help us understand the times that we're in currently are the books. I mean, people's experiences, people writing about their lives and what they've come across. I would love to read that book if you ever decide to write it.
Well, great. You'll be the first one to get it.
So great. Well, you got one right there.
There we go.
You haven't even started
I've almost covered my cost.
There you go. Now, let's see. It's a ridiculous list of companies that you're carrying for. Let's just kind of run through a few of them, because I'm not familiar with all of them. And if I mispronounce them, please correct me, because I probably will. Now, of course, most of the stuff that you focus on is percussion. So what does A-Tempo Percussion carry?
A-Tempo is a company that is based with... that's owned by Rhythm Band, RBI company, and they do toca percussion, which is hand percussion, and they do the Fred King vintage guitars, and they do Odori drums, which are a Brazilian company. A-Tempo is a Peruvian cajon company, which is where cajon came from. Mm-hmm. Really, really high quality stuff. It's like furniture, and it's an amazing company. Kind of a limited. Sales. It's not like an everyday, every store, every place online kind of a thing, because it's a really, really high-end instrument that you have to be a player to really appreciate it, because there's a million cajons and a million djembes out there these days.
Sure, yeah.
But it's really high-quality stuff.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, just Toca alone, I'm very familiar with them, and there's nothing that I've ever touched of theirs that I didn't think was well worth playing.
Yeah. Well, that's part of this world is you got to have consistency. It's got to be, one's got to be as good as the next.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to circle around back to that very statement when I'm going to save my favorite one for last, but that
okay, I know which one that is.
You know which one, yeah, and that definitely is very consistent there. Now, I've not heard of Tetherax.
Oh, Tetherax. That's a company, a friend of mine up in the Northwest, who is doing his own strap company. He's a rep, and he just got tired of seeing, lots of inferior products, and he's bringing in stuff from China. God, I don't know how much the price just went up as of a couple of days ago, but
what a great time to have you on the show.
Yeah, exactly. But it's real high quality stuff. Not expensive. It's good everyday stuff. And it's a fine product. He's a nice guy and good friend, and it's a really decent product.
Well, I want to take a little side road here, because this leads me to something I was going to ask you about later. But being that you mentioned that you're very tall, do you find it as a drummer? Have you found it difficult to have setups that are comfortable for a guy of your height?
Well, I've always had the slouch problem being a drummer. I always tend to lean in and kind of slouch down a little bit. Partially because I'm tall, and partially because that seems to be before I knew about good posture and good breathing and all that kind of stuff. It's been that way. But now with all the different thrones and different ways to set drums up, I don't have a problem with it at all. I have a throne with a back, which I never thought I'd use, but it's comfortable, and I've got my drum set up to where it's comfortable. It's like sitting at a desk,
Right. Yeah. And do you do warm-ups before you play, or do you just go for it?
Yeah, I usually I'll do some rudiments, kind of a thing, that kind of thing, and I'll stretch if I have to. But yeah, just try to get the hands warmed up a little bit. But usually, if I'm playing quite a bit, I don't really need to warm up much. Mm-hmm. But if it's been a week or two since we've gotten together and played, yeah, I'll do some rudiments or play on a pad a little bit.
Right. Yeah. It's just if you just go right into the show and you're playing full force, and it's it's nice to have exercised your wrists and hands a little bit. I used to do 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits. So left, right, left, left, right, right, left, 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 right, 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 and all the way up to 5, and then back down again. And I would do 3 or 4 sets of that before I would go on stage. And I personally found that it really helped me, but I was also playing very aggressive music at the time.
Right. Well, it's, your body, it's a shock to the body, and especially as you get older, if, you have a little bit of arthritis, a little bit of stiffness or whatever, it's good to, let your hands know what you're about to put them through, so
right.
It definitely helps, it definitely helps.
Well, the thing is with longer arms too, I mean, as a drummer, I kind of feel like we have an advantage because we really have a lot of different options with our setups. Whereas, say, a guitar player that has long arms, you can only drop the strap so far. You can only angle the guitar so much. It seems like we would have a better position for a bigger person.
Yeah, and I tend to sit back from my bass drum a little bit. I'm not right on top of it. And I don't play a big kit. I play 1 up and 2 floors and a ride and 2 crashes, and that's it. I don't, the days of lugging around a bunch of stuff. That's, so the older you get, the smaller the kit gets, But I also find that the more drums I have, the more I'm going to hit them, and I don't, my way I play and the way I like to play, I consider myself a groove player in a pocket or a shuffle player. Mm-hmm. And I don't, I actually at one point took my rack tom down and didn't have one for a while.
Really?
It was very, very enlightening, and it was very interesting. Mm-hmm. And it opened me up to the crowd too much. So if I have the tom up there, I can hide a little bit better,
It's amazing the psychological difference of even one cymbal, one drum makes.
Yep. It really does. And I've never, I'm not a solo player. I hate drum solos. And, so I've never been, one to say, hey, look at me. I'd rather be up there playing with a bass player or somebody and having fun doing that. Yeah. But, it's and I have a big bass drum. I have a 24-inch bass drum and a 12 and a 14 and a 16. And I just like to, I kind of, hide back there a little bit. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask you if you played a larger kick. I had a feeling that you did, but it does give you a good, powerful sound.
It just feels better to me. I mean, I've played 22s all my life, mm-hmm. and I've got a 12. No, I shouldn't say that. My old Ludwig kit when I was on the road in the 70s was a 1424. because I thought I was going to be John Bonham, but that didn't quite work out. But I've used my pearls mostly had 22s. I had also got a 24 with it at the same time, and the 24 just feels better to me,
Yeah.
And the sound killer.
I was like the 16 by 22 because I like a good punchy kick when I play. And that's just like the sweet spot for me. But I also, I hear a lot of drummers when they're in the studio, they record with larger bass drums to capture that bigger, boomier sound. And I really like the way it records.
Yeah, and the studio is a whole different animal, I found out. I mean, when I did this last record that we did, it was a pork pie kit, and it was a 9 by 13, 16 by 16, 16 by 18, 14 by 24. Wow. And those were the sizes I used to use. I used to use a 16 by 18 with my Ludwig kit, and it made me just really long for the days of having that. When I got back from the record, I pulled my 16 by 18 out and put it up with my Ludwig kit, and it was nice, But in the studio, you can make anything sound huge, it seems, but it still felt better, having those big drums around me.
Well, I think that's the difference, really, because, you can recreate some things in the studio. You can give a false sense of the recording. But the thing that you can't give is the drummer's feel. And how you feel is going to affect how you perform. If you feel like you're playing on a kit that sounds tinkly and thin and little, you're not going to give that full performance that you would if you had a big booming kit.
Yep. What's really interesting about that, and maybe it's not having the right technique or professionalism or whatever, but if I go do a gig and my snare drum or bass drum sound terrible, it just kills me all night long.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh God, I don't want to be doing this. But if my snare drum and bass drum are killer, it's like I'm there, and I perform so much better, knowing full well that out front it probably sounds fine, and I shouldn't worry about that. But it's that little tweaky thing,
Yeah. Well, I think it's the same psychology of having one more or less cymbal or one more or less drum on that kit. It affects you in a way that everything will affect your performance.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I would say that would affect me more than the number of audience. If I felt comfortable behind the kit and I had two people out in the audience, I think I would play better than if I had a full crowd and a smaller kit.
Sure. Yeah. It's just, there's so much that goes into it with playing with 4 or 5 or 3 or 2, however many other people in the band and the crowd. And, there's nothing, because, it must be really good for your ego. I said, it has nothing to do with ego, really, for me. It's if I'm playing, and first of all, if the band locks in, there's no other feeling that you can't really explain that to anybody who's not a musician or an artist, because that's just that feeling. And then when you see the crowd get into it and you're locked into that, hey, there's just nothing better,
Yeah.
And I've learned over the years that I stopped trying to make a whole lot of money, being a drummer in the business, especially in LA. But if it's not fun and I don't like the people I'm playing with, I'm really not interested,
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not, or unless you're going to pay me just a whole ton of money, then we'll talk.
Yeah.
But it's got to be fun, I mean, come on, that's what we got into this for, to have fun.
Well, I think Ian Paiste said it the best, and he's a Paiste artist, but he said, every time that I go on stage, I go back to being a 16-year-old kid who just wanted to play drums for fun.
Sure.
Yeah, it's my profession. Yeah, it's what I do. It's what I live on. But I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. And I get to be a 16-year-old kid on stage every night.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and that's it.
Not a damn thing wrong with that, yeah.
It does change things when you try to turn music into a business. You do lose a lot of your sense of joy because you're so busy trying to find the next gig or the next paycheck or whatever.
Yep. Right.
But if you can keep that with you, if you can keep that joy and why you got into doing it in the first place, then you're a lot likely to sustain yourself for potentially life, if you can look at it that way.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting, every time I set up, and go to a gig, I go, why did I become a drummer? I got so much crap to set up. And I'm very organized about how I load in, how I pack my stuff, which is funny because at the end of the night you get people, can I help you pack up? No, don't touch anything.
Right.
No, no. Everything has a place. Everything has a way it's supposed to go in.
Yeah.
But it's, then you see a guitar player walk in with a little amp and sit down and go, okay, I'm ready. It's like, but, I mean, I've thought about what other instrument would I really have wanted to play. And it's like, None. I get to sit and bang on stuff all night long. I mean,
Right.
they got my aggressions on that. So what could be better?
Yeah. I think the most common phrase I would utter after a gig was, "Yeah, I'll see you guys at Denny's."
Yeah.
You guys you'll have your food in front of you, and I'll just be getting there ordering. Because I played a big kit. I had 6 rack toms, 2 kicks, 2 floor toms,
wow.
Killer amount of cymbals.
You really are a glutton, aren't you, boy?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know what position, but I like melody as a drummer. So it's really hard for me to play on smaller kits because I don't get to be as melodic as I like to be.
Right.
But you got to pay the price if you're going to do that.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, I've played on bigger drums, and then I've had a smaller kit back in the 70s when I was touring. I had a 12 by 15, a 16, 18, a 14, 24. And that's all I carried. Again, I was going through my John Bonham phase.
Right. Yeah.
When I was going through my Ginger Baker phase, I had 2 up, 2 down, and 2 bass drums. But I wasn't really playing out that much. I was still, pretty young. But I did, and I remember doing some shows like that were multi bands, and I sat out behind this Yamaha kit, and which is a fine kit. It was great. But there was like 3 up and 2 down, and I said, "Can you take like 3 of these drums away?" And the guy on the stage says, "Are you sure you're a drummer?" I said, "Absolutely, I'm a drummer. Believe me." I said, because if they're there, I'm going to hit them, and I don't need to hit them. I don't need to be playing stuff that I don't need to be playing.
That's right. Don't leave me the temptation because I'll take it.
Don't put it up there because I'll hit it.
Yeah. Now, Ginger Baker, you mentioned him. It's boy, I did not know the extent of his personality until I saw the documentary Beware of Mr. Baker.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's amazing. It really turned me off to him in a way, but he's who he is. I mean, my drumming career was basically Ringo, Ginger Baker, and John Bonham, and then from there, and Ian Paiste, and then from there, it was, just the rest of all the other people that you got to absorb.
Right.
But I used to see. I saw Cream once. I saw Led Zeppelin 5 or 6 times, leaning up against the stage. And back in the day when you could do that.
Right. Yeah.
And then the same thing with Deep Purple. When I saw Ian Paiste. I loved Ian Paiste. Aside from the fact he's a really nice guy and he's a great player, because he was left-handed, and I'm a lefty, even though I play kind of right-handed. But it's just, you watch all these guys, and it's amazing to see. But he was, Ginger was a character.
Yeah, he still is, just angrier.
To say the least. Yeah, he just talking about being smacked. I mean, he would just as soon smack you as look at you, I think. But,
well, he would smack you, but he would pick up a shovel to do it first.
Well, that's the problem. He wouldn't hit you with his hand. It'd be a shovel or his cane or something. So.
Yeah, I don't know if the documentary is still on Netflix, but if any of you guys are listening and want to see it, really interesting, probably the most interesting interview I've ever seen in my life, check it out. If not, I'm sure it's available elsewhere.
It really is. It's very enlightening, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely extreme opposite of just about every musician I've ever met.
Exactly.
I mean, there's arrogance and there's hatred, and he's just down to hatred.
Yep. Well, I think part of it, and this is without being, knowing, but I mean, Clapton and Clapton has really excelled after all that,
right?
And was very successful. I think Ginger kind of got left behind, and who knows why? I mean, who knows? But I would think that may have a little bit to do with it, but. I don't know. He still plays well. I saw the Cream reunion, which was kind of interesting. But he still plays well.
And the other thing I'll say too is that even though it was so far back when a lot of that stuff happened with him, if it wasn't for him, modern drumming would not be what it is today. It wouldn't have evolved the same way. He was really one of the first people to play the way he did. Yep,
and to play weird bass drum sizes and have. The sizes that he had, the way his drums were set up, and his whole style of playing. It was. I mean, like I said, for me, it was Ringo and him and Bonham were the kind of the guys who you looked at, and Charlie Watts, and then you got Harmon Apiece, and so there's all these different players. But and then let's see, then you got Mitch Mitchell with Jimi Hendrix, and I mean, it goes on and on and on. But those guys were kind of like the cornerstones of a lot of this stuff,
Yeah, and I will always give huge props to Mitch Mitchell because the kind of drumming that he did with Hendrix, it was unheard of before that.
Yep. it was interesting to me that, I would always hate it when we tried to either learn a Beatles tune or a Hendrix tune, because I said, I can't play like that. I can't. Ringo has a swing to him and a different feel that nobody else has. And Mitch Mitchell was all over the place because that's what he needed to do.
Right.
And same thing with Little Feat and Richie Hayward. He's another guy that was really hard to lock into, to copy.
Ringo had the feel. And
yep.
I'll never say that I think that Ringo was an incredibly creative drummer, but he didn't need to be. He needed to be a solid drummer with a good feel for the Beatles, and that's exactly what he was.
Well, it's interesting to me that, I see all these things. There was a Beatles site that I posted something on yesterday or today, but they were saying, oh, Ringo was this and Ringo was that. He wasn't that good. And I said, look, here's the deal. Ringo's in the Beatles and you weren't. So he was in the Beatles for a reason.
Yeah.
And nobody, when they had their 50th anniversary and Paul got up and had, and Ringo was there, but they had all these different drummers play. And they had great drummers. They were all fantastic drummers, but nobody had that feel, except the guy who's playing Abe Jr., who's playing with McCartney now. He's the best Ringo-ish kind of a drummer for that gig, because he's got that feel and that looseness and that swing to him.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to do. Everybody thinks, oh, I can play like Ringo. Well, no, you really can't. And Charlie Watts is another one. He's the same kind of guy. He plays, if you really sit and watch him and listen to him, you might think it's a little sloppy, but, you look at it and go, oh, okay, well, yeah, there's it's pretty amazing once you really sit down and kind of drill down and look at these guys and watch what they were doing. And you watch the way Bonham played. I found a couple things watching him that I never knew, and it just really explained a lot, and really irritated a lot too. So.
Well, I think people, and I look at these lists of, top 100 drummers, top 100 guitar players of all times, and it's not even that they were necessarily great players. It was just that they were associated with great songs. The difference with Ringo is that I've always felt he was underrated or just accepted as good because he was in the Beatles, but not actually paid attention to because he wasn't flashy. But if you really want to get a sense of how good Ringo was, or still is, I would imagine, set him to a click track. Put a Beatles song on and play it along with a click track, and you'll see the feel that he brings that is not straight 4/4. Yep.
Well, everything he's got this little shuffle that he's got, and it's just these little things that unless you watch him and see what he's doing, then you can put that to what you're hearing. Right. It's like you hear it and you go, yeah, that sound. Then you watch him go, oh, okay, so that's what he's doing. And it's not easy to do. It's just really not. It's not that easy to do. He was very underrated. Well, nobody in the band was flashy. There wasn't anybody that was flashy. Right. It was just good songs.
Yeah, but yet they could play on the rooftop of a skyscraper and still fill the streets, even though no one could see them.
Exactly. Well, I've always thought I've held true that look, you can love or hate the Beatles. You can anybody else with Rush or with whoever else you idolize. Nobody is ever going to come close to what the Beatles did and to what the Beatles mean and what the Beatles created. We wouldn't be in this drum business if it wasn't for Ringo and the Beatles.
That's right.
Because that's where I got it. I was watching them on TV when I was with my dad, and I went, I can do that. That doesn't look hard.
Yeah. And I came along a bit later, but if it wasn't for Ringo, the guys I listened to wouldn't have been doing it, and I wouldn't have found guys like Carl Palmer and Ian Paiste and John Bonham because they wouldn't have been there. Right.
And that's the thing. It's just, and that's, not to get off on about what I think's wrong with the music business today, but it's like there's not a band out there that people can go look at and go, gee, I want to be in a band, other than maybe the Foo Fighters. I think what Dave Grohl and those guys do is tremendous. First of all, they're good people and they're really a good band and very talented, but they bring kids up on stage and they play with them and they really promote being in a band and learning how to play and not going on a reality show, Yeah. And that's, I think we just don't have that at this point, unfortunately.
I would agree. I think there's probably a few, like I would imagine Dream Theater. When people go see Dream Theater, they're like, I want to do that, because they're a very flashy, very showmanship sort of band. But in general, I don't find that I'm that inspired by what's out there today.
No, not at all. and it's sad. It really is. I mean, I listen to a lot of the quote older players and older stuff. But there's some really new guys that are out there that are just new drummers that are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So there's luckily there's still hope for that.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I'm the same way. I really kind of stick to the things I grew up with, and I think I emailed you that Carl Palmer is coming here with a few people from Asia and doing a tour. Uriah Heep's coming here. I'm going to go see them. Deep Purple's coming back, and I just find so much comfort because I think the difference is that music was pure honesty. There were no click tracks. There were there was some overdubs, but there wasn't drum replacement. It was you had to play the song. And they didn't have producers back then telling them, no, you need to put this in, otherwise it's not going to get on the radio. They had to do their radio single, but apart from that, they wrote from honesty, from jams, which are very organic. And I don't feel that you get that as much today. Yeah,
I don't think so either.
Yeah. So let's go over a couple more of these companies though that you're working for, because it's such an impressive list. Fret King obviously is are they guitar parts as well as straps?
No, it's a guy named Trev Wilkinson from England who used to do guitar parts, but he does now full instruments, and that's done through the Rhythm Band Company as well, RBI. Fairly inexpensive guitars, very high quality, just really, really good. You don't have to spend $2,000 on a guitar to get a guitar that plays real well. And a lot of guys that that are using this stuff is guys that gig a lot, and they say, well, I don't want to take my 52 Les Paul out to a bar, or I don't want to take it on tour in case it gets stolen, that kind of a thing. So this is I'm not saying it's a throwaway guitar, but you're going to feel a lot less hurt if a $600 or $1,000 guitar gets stolen than a $10,000 guitar gets stolen.
Yeah, and unfortunately that happens.
Oh yeah, well, it happens all the time. But this is it's just a good quality medium price guitar, and I'm having good luck with it, and they're really good folks to work with.
Good, and it gives you something besides drums to kind of get into, since you're
and I used to, like I said, I would sell Schecter guitars. I used to sell Schecter back in the day. That was all parts and bodies and necks and pickups and widgets and stuff. So it's I just I've always been a gear fan. I like it. I like gear. Whether it's drum, obviously I geek out more over drums and cymbals and stuff, but I like guitars and amps. And I like all that stuff. It's just kind of the way I grew up. So
Native Instruments makes these wonderful pad samplers where you can just kind of play out patterns and stuff on them. And I have literally no reason to purchase one for what I do. They're great for people that are doing EDM and different kinds of things, but I have literally no reason to buy one. But I want one just because it looks so cool. I just want it on my desk. It's really easy to get sucked into that, especially nowadays, because everything, especially guitar pedals, have become so visible. Whereas, back in the days of Ibanez and Boss, everything was standard model, just a different color. But now everything is different shapes and flashy and very eye-catching.
Yep.
But that's what I love about drums, too. I mean, people will, maybe the paint or the finish or the shell. But other than that, we really care about sound and quality and playability more than the visual content.
Right. Exactly. Well, it's you've got to have the right the instrument made properly. And again, back to when I was traveling in the 70s, I had no idea what a bearing edge was. I put the drum head on and tuned it the best I could.
Right. Yeah.
And now working with folks like Bill at Pork Pie and the Odori people, and some of these other guys, it's like, that makes all the difference in the world.
It does.
And it's nice that there's people that are paying attention to that. And I mean, let's face it, a drum is, you have a shell that's made out of a good material, and you've got a good bearing edge and a head, how to tune it. It's going to sound pretty good, and the rest of it becomes eye candy and fashion.
Right.
But there are some things, like different bearing edges and different mounts and so forth that have made a difference and have made it really, a lot better for players.
Sure.
But, it's like reinventing the wheel. You can only do so much with it, really,
Right. And it's a lot less duct taping pieces of cardboard to the drum head to try and get that ring out.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have any muffles on any of my drums. I have a little bit of moon gel on my snare drum. But, the drums are made to, made to ring. They're made to resonate. So,
and between that and the quality of the drum mics nowadays, it used to be just SM57s, and that's how you mic your drums. And now there's very specific.
That's how you mic your drum. That's how you hammer the nails into the stage. And I mean, SM57s and 58s. That's what they were. They were workhorses.
Yeah, absolutely. And
they still are.
So let's talk a little bit about Pork Pie. I could be wrong, but when I first heard of Pork Pie, did they just start as a snare company?
He started as snare and throne. He started out of his garage a long time ago. He made some drums, and people liked them, and he said, well, maybe I'll make some more and sell some more. So kind of started with that. He actually used to do, Bill is the thing Bill does, other than make tremendous drums, he's a great painter, and he does killer bearing edges. My pearls, I had him do my bearing edge on my pearl kicks. I just couldn't get the sound that I wanted. And I just said, before I set fire to these things, please do the bearing edges on them and make them sound right. And he tweaked them, and they sound magnificent. So he does wonderful bearing edges. He's a great painter. He used to paint for a drum workshop and some other people.
Oh, okay.
And he's just, he's a good painter. He does that. And he started out doing mainly snare drums, and now he's doing snare drums and thrones and drum sets, and he does a lot of wacky stuff. He's pretty creative. He's actually my neighbor. It's funny. I look out my office window, and his house is 3 doors away from here, and we've been neighbors. He's living in the house he grew up in, and for many years it was like, I kept thinking, well, maybe we should talk about, me selling your stuff, and it's like, I don't know that I want to have have my boss live down the street from me, that kind of thing.
There's
but
that.
It's fine. We're actually, we have our sales meetings at the curb, so it works out real well. He's very easy to deal with. Great guy, great family. Just his kids, one of his kids is a great drummer. Zach is a really good player. So it's great. And the product is, I've never hit a Pork Pie drum, even when I was with Pearl, that didn't sound tremendous. And it used to piss me off when I was with Pearl, but it
well,
was,
yeah.
I hit it and go, damn it, But he makes good stuff. He makes very good stuff.
Yeah, I remember when I was living in Denver, my roommate at the time, Scott Davies, who's gone on to do a lot of great work as a drummer, he was the first one to tell me about Pork Pie, and I thought, what a stupid name. That's just horrible. But you know what? that doesn't get out of your head.
I know.
And that's what makes it work.
And it's very kitschy, and he's got lots of little things going on with it, with his logos and different things. And he's a small, I don't want to say boutique, but he's a small. He's not like a drum workshop or Ludwig where he's got thousands of drums and stuff. But that's not what he wants. But he touches every drum that goes out, and he's also doing the Rogers drum, the Rogers Dynasonic with Big Bang. He's doing those. He does all the. They send him. It's like a kit, and he does the bearing edges, the snare beds. Paints it, puts it together, and pats it on the butt and sends it out the door.
Wow.
So, if you want somebody to get their hands on your drum, in my opinion, he's probably the guy to do it.
That's a lot of shipping.
Yep. It's a lot of stuff.
Well, I'm glad that he's successful, because I like when people just start with an idea and they have a dream and they don't want to diversify too much. They just start with one thing or two things and they do them very well.
Yep. And that's what he does. He's pretty centered and pretty focused on what he's doing. He doesn't change a whole lot of different stuff. He hasn't changed his lug forever, and he hasn't. He's done a couple different lugs, but mostly it's the same look. And the consistency factor of it is, again, back to the consistency.
Right.
That's what people know and like about it. So it's good stuff. It's very good stuff.
And so you mentioned that he works through Big Bang, so that's a good segue into them. Big Bang carries every accessory a drummer or really a musician could ever want.
They carry everything in the world. It's unbelievable. They've got, they started out, Bob Kasha, who's the owner, used to have a store out here called ABK Rocks, and it was a great music store. And just, as things went, he decided to move on to other things, and he was making the head sticks, which were being made by the Easton Company, the baseball bat people. And that started him on his journey, what he's doing now, and with all the head products and the head bags. We're talking about bags and cases and stuff. These are the best drum bags I've ever seen, and I bought a set, or bought bags for all my drums before I actually started working for them.
Oh.
And, the product's great. They've got tons of other accessories and sticks, and just, it's one of these companies that just does things right. And it's a joy to work for them. I'm not saying that just because I work for them, but it's one of these companies to where if I go up to them and go, hey, we need to do this promotion with the dealer. And they say, well, if you think we need to do it, do it. Like, okay, thank you, And he lets me, do what I think I need to do. And I write orders for them constantly all day long, and it's just, and they're good people. They're really fair, and they make a great product. They have some great snare drums that they're building themselves, along with the Rogers situation. So they've got pretty much anything a drummer needs. It's pretty intense.
Well, and I have to say, my memories of their customer service was always top notch. Anytime any little thing was missing from an order, they would take care of it right away. There was never any difficulty. Everyone was friendly. But if you remember Julie from Pro Sound, she would do the Big Bang orders, and she would come into the warehouse because I had moved up to Boulder and was managing the warehouse by then. And she would just look at me and I would say, what's wrong? And she would say, I just put in the Big Bang order. It's 7 pages. And the thing about Big Bang was so much of the stuff that they sell are small accessories that they would ship it all in one giant box.
Right.
That would weigh about 150 pounds. And then that would be my entire day, was just checking in Big Bang merchandise. But everything that was in that box was quality. There was nothing that they sold. It was like they had a level of standard that said, if it falls below this line, it doesn't go in our box.
Well, and they also have, they're one of these companies that if I place an order by 1 or 2 o'clock, good chances are, if it's in stock, and it usually is, it'll go out that day or the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big thing with people. Like we said, we're in a right now world, and that makes people know that they can order accessories and they don't have to worry about it. And they know they're going to be there. They know it's going to be right, and the price is right, and everything is good about it. It's ease of doing business, which is another motto of mine that I try to instill in all my companies and all my people. It's got to be easy to do business, because then you're going to do more business.
Exactly. If you make it a pleasant experience and a simple experience, if you're there to support anything that didn't go right, I don't think people have problems with things going wrong as much as just not wanting to deal with the hassle of things going wrong. So if you could take that hassle out of the way, then there's no problem. I don't mind hearing bad news as long as people keep me in the loop, let me know what's going on. And if you're friendly about it, then the news isn't as much of an issue to me. It's all the stuff that goes with it that's the problem.
Well, that's one thing in my repping career that I've always tried to do is that I'm not an expert sales. I'm not like an MBA sales guy. I'm a salesman of the real world, because I work in retail stores and I've been on the road, and I know how to treat people. I know how people want to be treated. Mm-hmm. And it's like I always call people back. I'll always let them know what's going on, even if it's bad news, especially if it's a good news. You got to let them know. But like you said, it's all in how you take care of that problem. If there's a problem, it's great. Or it's a terrible thing. You have a problem, but it's how you take care of that and make it right that matters, and keeps people coming back to you. That's the whole trick.
Right. And here's what I really appreciate about that, Les, is because we live in a world now where people don't want to interact. They don't want to say anything that's bad news, anything that might set someone off. So they hide behind an email address, a website. There's very little business to business anymore, very little personal touch. It's all, let's just deal with it digitally and not have to talk.
Right.
It's very disconnected. And I think it's great that we still have people that do what you do, because we can look up the information. I can look up statistics on any product online, but I want to know about it. I want to know why it's good. You can't read that. You can't get that on a website.
Well, and I don't think I've ever bought an instrument other than used stuff on eBay online. And I don't understand, other than maybe like an electronic piano or a piece of electronic gear that's kind of a static kind of a thing. Yeah. But with the guitar or drums or cymbals, you want to taste it and feel it and kiss it and look at it and play it. It's because they're all different. Right. And that's where the customer service part comes into it. Your former boss, Bob, at Pro Sound, was really good about that. Mm-hmm. He's always wanting to make sure that the customer got the right thing and the right thing for him or her. And you can't necessarily do that online, Yeah.
And, that's the difference between going into a lot of places. I've noticed back in the day when Best Buy was kind of in its heyday, the clerks didn't really seem to know that much about what they were selling. They would look it up in the manual, but at ProSound, they were most of the guys were straight commission. So you had to know your product. You would take it home, you would do a report on it, you would learn your business.
Yep. Well, that's, if I'm going to come in and spend $1,000 with you, I want you to know, I want you to have input, and I want you to have good input, and I want you to know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
And that's the whole thing with the tap dancing thing. I mean, I don't know how many people I've heard, and I've told them, I said, look, if you don't know, if you're talking to somebody and it's a product that I sell and you don't know, so you know what? I don't know, but let me make a phone call right now and I'll find out for you.
Exactly.
And you call me.
Yeah.
And not only will that impress the customer that you, A, admitted you didn't know about it, and B, that you're calling, the rep or the expert, and get the right answer. That part of it makes so much of a difference. It's ridiculous.
Well, and not only just in that moment, but in every transaction or interaction that we have going forward, because that's how you're always going to remember that person, is at their weakest moment and how they come out of it. And if you say, I'm going to follow up with you, you damn well better follow up with me. Otherwise, I'm going to remember that you didn't do that either.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, we got a couple more here that we haven't talked about yet. Tell me about Agner Drumsticks.
Agner Drumsticks is a new company out of Switzerland, and they've been around for a little while. They have been over in Europe for quite a while. Just a really nicely balanced quality stick. It's funny because everybody goes, no, I don't need another drumstick, or I don't need the guitar strap. It's like, well, yeah, but you need one that's good and one that will make you money and one that the people like, It's a pretty cool stick. It's just, like I said, it's very balanced and very, just feels really good in the hands. They've been around for a little bit. Very
nice. And let's talk about Odori.
Odori is a Brazilian company, again, through the rhythm band company that does tempo and toca. And very interesting stuff. I mean, some of it's made in Brazil, some of it's made in China, but it's very interesting. They've got lots of really nice woods and different finishes. They've got kits that you would look at and think, oh, that's a $3,000 kit, and it's $1,500.
Wow!
But the bearing edges work on it. The finish is great. The way some of the lugs going through the bass drum hoops and just little things. It's a very interesting company. They also have a company, a drum set called the Cafe Kit, which is a little, small kit that's, like 4 drums, and they're small sizes, but they're made out of basswood, and they're made out of real wood, not crap. Mm-hmm. And they're real drums. They look at it, go, oh, that's a kid's starter kit, and say, no, sit down and play it.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, wow, So that's one of the main things they've got going.
Because when you see something like that, I think the initial thought is it's pressboard or it's cheap or it's something that you would find on Amazon, a kid's kit. But there are a lot of people out here in Vegas that are playing jazz clubs on little kits like that sound tremendous.
Oh yeah. Well, again, here's what we were talking about before. You look at the kit and go, but if you sit down and play it and get your hands on it, you go, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So it's that perception based thing where you've got to have somebody go, yeah, but look, here are the benefits and the features of this. You need to look at it and play it. And then if you don't like it, then you don't like it, but at least that it's, you know what it is. You know that it's not something that is presenting itself as something else. So
yeah, and I'm a big believer, and through experience, I mean, I didn't just wake up thinking this way, but don't judge a book by its cover. Just because something may not look that great doesn't mean it isn't an amazing thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, especially with instruments, it's got, and it's a lot of it's fashion, a lot of it's perception and what you've heard and, all that. But, the only way to really know is to get your hands on it and sit and play it, no matter what it is, and touch it and feel it and bang on it or whatever you got to do with it, So.
Right. How about Taxact leather bags?
Taxact leather bags. That's an interesting guy. He's Mr. Cacavelli up in New York, an older guy who's been around for a long time. Hand makes leather bags. It's very, very low production, but it's just one of these things where he's a friend of a friend, and I don't sell a ton of his stuff, but I do sell a bit of it. But it's all quality stuff. It's like the old Reunion Blues stuff that used to be around.
Oh, yeah.
Really high quality stuff. And Big Bang has a new leather bag out that's very nice too. That's kind of along those lines. So he's just an older jazz player up in New York, a real character, and
love that people are still hand making things, that we're not depending on machines for every little thing we do.
It's amazing. I've gotten a couple of bags from on samples, and I look at them, and there's a couple of little flaws on them. I go, "Why I like?" He goes, "I'm sorry." I said, "No, I like that. That's good."
Yeah.
Because it shows that you actually had some hands on it.
Right. It's quality. Yeah. Somebody's touched it. It's not factory pressed, barely inspected by somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
How about what has Black Swan Percussion got?
Black Swamp is a concert percussion company, probably the top company known, in the industry at this point. They make amazingly high-end, precise, sensitive concert, like symphonic concert snare drums. Mm-hmm. They make triangles, they make concert toms, and they do all sorts of other different, concert instruments. And they're also making drum set snares right now. They'll do like a bell brass, they'll do titanium, they do all sorts of different woods. They're just ridiculously nice drums. They're just stupid, and it's just, I had one of the titaniums, and I'm not that big of a metal drum fan, although I do like my old Ludwig Superphonics, of course.
Sure, yeah.
But I sat down and played this titanium. It's like, holy crap, this is unbelievable, So they're out of Michigan. They're out of Freelander, Michigan.
Okay.
Does that ring a bell to you?
I'm not familiar with that town now.
Let me see if I can get the right name where they're from. But yeah, they're out of Michigan. They make everything up there, and really, really, kind of wacky guys, but really nice guys. Zeeland, Michigan.
Zeeland. I'm not familiar with Zeeland.
I think it's Ann Arborish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they do all that stuff, and it's a limited market, but schools and symphonies and the drum set stuff is starting to come around a little bit. So again, it's not a high pressure company. They're fun to work with. They're nice guys, and the product is phenomenal. So
that's great. And we're really big on symphonic stuff here too, because we've got obviously our orchestra plays with a lot of bands that come through doing their symphony tours.
Sure.
We've got a lot of stuff that goes on here at the Smith Center. And there's some wonderful people in the percussion side of our orchestra. So it's really good to see companies out there that focus on that. Yeah,
they've been doing this for a while. They know what they're doing, that's for sure. And the guy also does etching. I'm sorry, he does some etching, like one or two of the other guys have done over the years. But he hand etches a lot of the brass drums or the titanium drums.
Really?
And to watch how that is done, it would drive me crazy. I told him, I said, you've got to be the most patient, non-coffee drinking person I've ever seen in my entire life, because the way everything is scratched by hand,
Wow.
And it's just amazing to me. I would never have the patience to do that, but that's another hands-on, handmade thing. You can't really do that with a machine and have it look right.
Sure. Well, my grandfather repaired watches and little clocks, and I could never understand how he could work with those tiny parts and that level of precision. It's funny because I can do, as a musician, I can work with precision, but with little tiny parts like that, I just don't have that mindset.
Yeah, I lose them. It's like the proverbial "where'd the drum key go?" That kind of thing.
Right. Well, I'm sure you've seen at NAMM over at the Sabian booth where they've got the guy that shows you the hand hammering process.
Oh, sure.
I couldn't do that all day.
Yeah, it takes a special person to do that. I've gone to the Sabian factory. I've gone to the Paiste factory too, and it takes a special kind of person with a special feel to do that, and like if you're making gongs or making some of the stuff, it's you don't just run an ad and say, hey, we need somebody to make some cymbals, why don't you come on over, that kind of thing.
Right. And I might have been on Instagram, Paiste's page, but they had, I saw recently somewhere a picture of somebody at the beginning stages of building one of their gongs.
I saw that. Yeah,
just this huge round piece of metal that I kind of just want to hit and know what that sounds like on its own. But to think about that being, gilded down into a gong it's a fascinating process. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, and it takes a long time. And then these people, there's no set time, there's no set schedule. It's made when it's made, and it's made until it's right.
That's
just the way they do it.
There's
a new video that Drumeo did that was a Paiste factory tour, which was done very, very well. Which shows a lot of the what Paiste has to do with their hand hammering and the way they do things. So
I'll have
that's a
to check
very
that out.
interesting video.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Well, before we get back to them, we do have one other product to discuss. And this I find really interesting because it seems really off the beaten path for what you're doing, but you're selling ukuleles.
I do. I sell, I've been working with a company called Ohana, and I'm also going to be working with Amahi. The ukulele business is a very strange group of people, very strange culture. The people that are into it are way into it, and the ukulele business has calmed down a little bit, but it's still crazy. I mean, it's just crazy, and it's fun. I mean, because literally anybody can learn how to play an ukulele.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they may not be a master at it, but they can play. You know, and that's really all they want to do. It's like, you know, when people get a djembe or something where they can just bang on something, that like some of these drum circles, if you can get any kind of a consistent rhythm, that's rewarding and satisfying because, well, now you can play something.
Right.
And it's the same way with an ukulele. You know, it's you learn a couple chords and you can play ukulele, you know.
I think that's the attraction, is that you can get up and running fairly quickly.
Yes.
You don't have to spend years like you would with most other instruments kind of mastering
right.
it. But I think the other thing about them is that they've become so attractive. I mean, so many different patterns. I don't know if you get a chance to go downstairs to Hall E when you go to NAMM, but it's basically a sea of them. I mean, they're everywhere. All these different companies come over, and you think that's plenty. We have enough now.
But no more, please. Yes.
Yeah, very, very visually, all the different patterns and colors, and it's an attractive instrument.
Well, and the other thing that people don't understand, and I didn't really understand until I got into it a few years ago, I used to work with a company that was based out of Kauai, and how expensive they can be.
Mm-hmm.
There are some handmade in Hawaii that are, you know, $2,000 and $3,000.
Sure.
And it's you know, you look at that and go, that's a lot of money for a little thing like that. But you look at it, it's either all koa, which they really can't do anymore, or acacia wood, or some really, really amazing wood that's been all handmade.
Right.
You know, and that's, again, back to the handmade, touching it, feeling it, and you know, having a human do it. It's and those sell quite well. The high-end ukulele business is actually does very well.
Yeah, it's really amazing how big that actually is, because it's not something that it's not really publicized unless you know somebody that has one or you see one in a movie or a video. It's not a commonly thought of instrument, but it's actually a much bigger market than people realize.
Oh, yeah. And I looked at, there's a website, a guy, Ukulele Underground, and it's just the web, it stretches so far to people. Mm-hmm. And it's ukulele, not ukulele.
Yes.
I got corrected on that right off the bat. So, but it's, I said, hey, I'm from Texas. You're lucky I don't call it a ukulele. You know?
Right.
But, but it's amazing how widespread that culture is. It's great. I mean, it's, you know, gets people playing music. That's what it's all about. You know?
Exactly. It brings people joy, and that's the thing. But Les, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Why, after all these years, do I still love Paiste 2002s?
Well, because you have impeccable taste.
Well, thank you.
It's because they're just a great instrument. I mean, I worked for Paiste back in the 80s, and then, you know, different things happened. I moved on, and then now I'm back with them again for the last, you know, 10 or 12 years. It's such a completely different instrument than the other two brands that are out. Well, not there's more than that now, because it's funny at NAMM show, everybody goes, well, we're going to go down to Turkish Row where there's like thousands of new cymbal companies, you know?
Right, yeah.
Unbelievable. But Paiste has always had an advantage and an edge, no pun intended because of the sound bit, that the way they make their cymbals, the consistency that we touched on, you know, everything is made to a master cymbal. Mm-hmm. So whatever cymbal they make, there's a master for it. And it gets tested against that master. And if it doesn't sound right, it gets tossed. And it's not, you know, they don't remelt it, they don't rehammer it, and they don't try to make it right. If it's not right, it's not right. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they're one of the few companies that still hand hammer. They do have some machine hammering, but they do, you know, mostly hand hammering. And I had a friend who's a dealer up in Northern California who just got back from Switzerland. He went there just because he wanted to go, and then he went to the factory. And he said, it's amazing how clean and organized and how precise the factory is. I went there in 85, and it was just amazing, well, it's just Swiss efficiency,
Sure. Yeah.
but it's just they make the cymbals are just amazing. They've got a sound for pretty much everybody. They're completely different than the other two companies, although we do have some Turkish style cymbals that are a little bit darker, but they still have the Paiste shimmer and the Paiste glass, sound to them. But yeah, the 2002s have been, 2002s and signatures. That's, there's nothing better. And they always, the thing with the consistency, to me anyway, is, and I always tell people, say, look, if you're gigging and you've got an 18-inch 2002 medium, and sadly you break it, if you're in wherever, you can get that cymbal in order to go into the store, and it's going to be almost 100% what you had.
Right.
I mean, things they're going to vary maybe just a tiny bit, but not enough to really even notice. So to me, that's good. Well, I can't find my own perfect cymbals. Well, that's you go and get the right cymbals, and you've got the right cymbals. If you break one, you're going to get what you like. You're not going to have to dig through 30 cymbals to find the one that you wanted. So I think that's important. And plus, to me, that just goes to the quality of the workmanship. If they make everything that consistent, they obviously know what they're doing.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, there are other cymbals that I like their sounds. I mean, I really like the A series from Zildjian. But the fact is, every time you go and buy a 16-inch A crash, it's going to sound different than the last one.
Oh,
and
sure.
The one before that. And if you have 5 of them, they're all going to sound different. And if you're looking for something for effect, that's fine. But if you want a signature sound, if you want something that's consistent, especially if you're going in the studio, it's really good to know that if you break one in the middle of a recording session, you can just go to the store and get another one, and it's not going to affect the recording at all.
Exactly. And it's funny because on this recording we did with the band, I used some giant beats and some dark energy hats and an older signature ride that the guy at the studio had, and they recorded amazingly. They just sounded great.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know. I mean, it's just a quality product, and they're not trying to be the biggest cymbal company in the world. They don't care about that. They just want to make good stuff and quality stuff, and it's a pretty amazing product. They've got a bunch of new stuff that they've come out with. There's a Modern Essentials, which are 602s, which are the one that Vinny Colaiuta switched over to, which was pretty huge. They've just got. I mean, it's some of these cymbals you sit and play. I remember walking through the warehouse in California here, and I started hitting cymbals, and I hit one, and you hit it, and you go, "Ooh, hello," that's nice, and it just strikes you. It's just like, "Oh, I want that. Yeah, I like that."
Right? Yeah.
And it's and it's just they've got so many different feelings in their cymbals, and so many different quality products. It's a great company. It's a great product. They've been that way for a long time.
I agree. And I love that when they came out with the 302s and the 502s, because then you could get people that were at the entry level that didn't have the money, because they're not inexpensive cymbals. They're worth it, but they're not inexpensive. But when they came out with those entry level lines, that was great for young drummers to be able to get a cymbal pack and say, here's everything I need to get started, and just have it when they get their kit.
Right. Well, we have the PST 3, 5, and 7 and 8, which is Paiste sound technology, and those are the quote lower end cymbals. So we still have that. So it is a way to help get somebody into it that may not have the money. But on the other hand, it's interesting. I remember when I first went back to Paiste, 10, 11 years ago, I'm at the NAMM show. And I had a couple of friends that worked for Zildjian, and they came over and they were, tapping on stuff. And there was a Ndugu Chancellor ride that we had, and they were playing on it. And they're going, "Yeah, but your stuff is so expensive." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Okay." I said, "You know how much a 21-inch K hybrid ride is?" And he said, "Well," I said, "I'll tell you how much it is because I just bought one about 4 months ago." I said, "It's about $700. Mm-hmm. This is a little under, $650. So shut up, I mean, Paiste used to be the real high price cymbal. I mean, everybody's like, "Oh, they're so expensive." They kind of stayed where they were and actually came down a little bit, and everybody just grew up to them.
Right.
So it's got that image of being really expensive, maybe because of the way they sound, but they're not really out, overly priced in the way the market is these days.
Sure.
I'm just glad I don't have to go out and buy all new cymbals because everything is expensive.
That's right.
But, if I had to go out and buy all new gear, I don't know if I'd be playing,
Yeah, well, that's just it. I mean, everything's become so pricey now that you kind of wonder how musicians that are at their entry level right now are going to get to the point of having the kind of gear that we have, because it's just it's a much bigger mountain to climb than it used to be.
Yep. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But luckily, a lot of people are still trying to climb it, so that's good.
That's true. Yeah. Well, one more thing on Paiste, and correct me if I'm wrong. I saw this ad out of the corner of my eye, and I went to go back to it, and the link was gone. But did Carl Palmer get a signature Paiste?
He does. He has a signature ride.
When did that come out?
Oh, 3 years ago, I think. Yeah, 3 years ago.
Well, obviously, I'm up to date on things.
Well, that's okay. You can't know everything.
That's true.
Know everything.
That's true. I knew that.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to look at it here and see what it is. It's a signature cymbal, and what did we call it? It was called the it's called the Duo Ride. So it's got two different playing surfaces on it, two different, one's a little bit thicker than one's unlathed, and then part of it's lathed. So it's a nice cymbal. It's got a lot of different characteristics to it.
One thing that's really great about that company is that they really listen to their signature artists. I heard an interview with one drummer who said, I don't remember who it was, but he was saying, I really like this one cymbal. And I said, well, if you ever do one with a little bit bigger of a bell, I'd like that more. And they sent it to him 2 weeks later. They really listen because they want to develop, new things and things that are going to work. And if it works for their signature artists, it's going to work for other artists.
Sure. Well, and that's all part of being a smaller company that can maneuver and listen to people like that. I mean, obviously, if you've got a successful drummer who's a good player and whatever, and he's got an idea for a cymbal, obviously they've kind of got a good idea and they've got a good head on their shoulders, so you might want to listen to them. Yeah. It may be completely outrageous and stupid, but it may be like, oh, that's pretty cool. Let's do that,
Sure.
And they listen to it, and they have the ability to do that. So, because they do everything there, and they do everything. It's all them, so it's not farmed out or anything. So they can maneuver a little bit quicker and act on it quicker. So, and plus they can react to the market a little bit better, a little bit quicker. So
right. And if somebody wouldn't have given Crazy a chance, we wouldn't have had rock and roll.
God bless them for that.
We also wouldn't have had disco, but I'll leave that to your own thoughts.
Well, we'll leave that one where it is. Yeah, that's right. Fine. Yeah, it certainly served its purpose, but
yes, and it's resting with history now.
Yeah.
So before we go, though, I do want to talk to you about one other thing. You have recently released an album with a band called Black Squirrel. Tell us about that and the record. You recorded that in LA, right?
I did at Crush Studios. A guy named Ryan Green was the engineer, and it's the thing. We started out this project with doing playing wineries and playing parties and having fun. And then the guitar player, who we call him Dr. Phil, he's a doctor, oddly enough. But he said, I want to do a proper record. And so we all said, great, let's do it. And it was kind of a bucket list for him. And we went to the studio, and it took us about a year to do it because we all had jobs and other things going on. But it was an amazing experience to see how recording has come, how far it's come from when I used to record a little bit, and that was, everybody's using 2-inch tape, and I think as we discussed before, you're in the room and everybody plays, and then they do dummy tracks or whatever. But for me, I was in the main studio by myself and playing along to the stuff that we had dummy tracks for, and just playing by myself and playing to that, and he damn near killed me. It was. I went in from 11 o'clock till about 7 o'clock, 4 days in a row. He said, we're going to do drum tracks first. I said, okay. And then it was about 5 or 6 hours a day of doing nothing but playing drums, mostly the same stuff over and over again. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
And but he also got stuff out of me that I'd never done before that I didn't know I could do, which was good. Mm-hmm. And and it was one of the most gratifying experiences I've had, and I can't tell you. We had a record release party, and after that night, I was talking to a couple of the other guys in the band. I said, you know what? I don't want to do bar bands anymore. I don't want to do Jumpin' Jack Flash anymore. This is fun, and God bless the guys that do the bars. I've done it enough, and it's not easy work for a lot of little pay, but I just found it a lot more rewarding doing our own stuff. And it's up on all the regular sites, where you can find music, and it's actually doing okay. It's kind of it's not any genre. It's got some rock to it. It's got some gospel. There's a little bit of dance involved in it, and some good just rock and roll songs. It's not trendy. So 2 years from now, it'll be it'll still be valid. And so we're hoping to within this year try to get the band rehearsed and maybe go do some shows. Our guitar player lost his house in one of the big fires here, so that kind of set us back a little bit. Yeah, just a bit. So we're still working on another album and trying to get some new tunes together, and so it's fun. It's nice to be in a creative situation. I got a bass player that we've been playing with off and on out here for a while, and he's just a guy named David Chamberlain, who's just ridiculously easy to play with. And as you know, being a drummer, it's when you got that guy sitting off to your left or woman, and it's just easy to play, and you don't have to think about it. It just makes it so much more fun. Yeah. And that's the way this is. So the whole situation is just like I said earlier. If it's not fun, I don't care. I don't want to be involved in. This is fun, and I like the people, and we all get along. And if somebody has an idea and the idea works, great. If it doesn't, okay, fine. It's never, no, I don't want to do that. You're the drummer. You don't have an idea. Everybody
I don't miss those.
Everybody listens to everybody. Yeah, we've all been through that. So, so it's fun. Yeah, and it's so I appreciate you bringing that up. That's a nice shameless plug. I like that.
Well, sure. And there's nothing better for a drummer that understands groove to play with a bass player that can play the pocket.
Oh yeah, it's just I've had two guys that I've played with recently. I know the guy named Pat Wilkins, who has I used to work with him at Schecter, and he's got a Wilkins guitar company, who I ran into at one of these mini blues jams around here, and we ended up playing together. And it was, again, we hadn't seen each other in 30 years. We played, and it was one of these things where you kind of stop and you go, oh, wow, that was kind of fun. That was nice, So, you don't have to think about it, and it's just right there, and you can follow each other, and you know where each other's going, and it makes it so much more fun.
Well, I think some of the best music is stuff that you just feel. It's just all 100% feel. You don't try to strategize. You don't go, okay, well, we were just at a C, so we need to go to an A. Nothing like that. You just feel it and play and let it go where it's going to go.
Right. And just you play what's good for the song, and you play what feels good. And that's why that's why we're musicians or drummers or guitar players or whatever, because it feels good, and that's what we got to do,
Exactly. Now, you mentioned, though, the isolation of the way that you recorded. Do you feel that it potentially could have been better if the band had recorded together in the same room with the collective energy as a jam?
I think it would have been better from the standpoint of I would have been more comfortable, because that's what I'm comfortable doing. But the way we did it was, after the first couple hours of me, having them, and the control room was upstairs, so I'm looking up at this window, and they're all like looking down at me. I feel like a goldfish. But but it might have been easier for me, from a selfish standpoint, because that's what I was used to. But and maybe having the energy might have been different. I've done that before with when we've had everybody in the room together, and it definitely is a different feel. But this one had a good feel to it. So
yeah, that's good. Well, I'm going to check out that album this weekend. I'm so sorry I forgot all about it. I remember that you had posted that you were doing some recording, and then of course I just fell off the world as usual and forgot what was going on around me.
I fall off all the time. So.
But I've always enjoyed, listening to any of the video clips and things that you've posted. I've always thought you're a very talented drummer. Really looking forward to hearing what you've done in the studio too.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, man, it's been so great to talk to you and great to catch up. I still just can't believe we've known each other for this long.
I know it's amazing. I'm so happy that we kind of reconnected here on the wonderful world of Facebook.
Yes.
But I really appreciate the chance to talk. It's really good to get catch up with you on this, and I like all your podcasts. It's great what you're doing, and it's nice to see people doing that kind of stuff and not. It's kind of refreshing and nice to see. So I appreciate the opportunity to get on and talk about it.
Oh, absolutely. And I got to say, one of the joys for me going to NAMM every year is that's the one time that I do get to actually see you in person and drool over some symbols. So I know you always keep an extra cloth in your pocket.
I try to keep a towel handy at all times. So
it's a wise idea.
Exactly.
Well, definitely. Best of luck to you guys on the album. I think it's going to be great that you're going to be doing some gigs. I'm guessing you're not going to fill up any extra time with Jumping Jack Flash.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Unless there's a lot of money involved.
Well,
I have my limits.
I have lines that I don't cross unless there's a really good reason, and then I just throw up all over them. It's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, it's funny because some of these bands, where we're doing stuff, they'd say, "Well, we're going to do this." It's okay. I said, I have a couple tunes I will not do, and with all respect to Chicago, Color My World. I said, if it's going to be Color My World, you're going to play drums on it. That's all there is to it. And there was one other one I can't remember, but I said, Color My World is I've done that in high school for 100 years, and I ain't doing it. So
yeah,
but again, unless there's a lot of money. So what are you going to do? So.
Well, there's really only one song that I can think of that I've always been a bit terrified of having to play as a drummer, and that's Rosanna. It's not that it's a difficult groove, because you can get the groove, but I think it's just the pressure of the expectation of being so perfect to be. Jeff
Porcaro. Porcaro's another one of these guys that that it's ridiculous. We were talking about Richie Hayward. I wanted to touch on that. I did a benefit for him back in 2009. Another friend of mine, Bruce Barber, and I did a thing for him when Richie got sick. Mm-hmm. And I got to know him a lot better. I had met him actually when I was with Sabian and Pearl, and he just a great guy for one. But we had this great benefit. We had Jackson Brown play. We had Jimmy Vivino. We had any drummer in LA that was around played, and it was great. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I'd call Richie about once a week, and he said, "Oh yeah, call anytime." I said, "Well, I don't want to bug you." He goes, "No, you're not bugging me." He goes, "I'm starting to play again." I said, "That's great." He said, "But my body won't do what my mind tells me tells it to do." And I said, "Well," I said, "that's kind of only fair." He goes, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Nobody else can cop what you can do, so why should you be able to?" So
that's right.
Got a kick out of that. But very musical guy, and it was just But Porcaro was another one of these guys. It's like, really? I mean, come on. But yeah, Rosanna and not that they're the same tune, but Bobby McGee. I won't play Bobby McGee.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't blame you at all.
Yeah. I've tried to play Rosanna, and I can't. Like I said, the groove, you can get the groove, but it's just there's more to it than that.
Yeah, it's like that Ringo swing. If you don't have that Ringo swing, you can play the notes, but it's not going to be the same.
You are exactly 100% right. That's true.
As little as I look up history and things, it was actually I didn't know until a few years ago that Porcaro was the one that played on Michael Jackson's albums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's the drummer on Billie Jean, which when you think about it, makes perfect sense because it's so damn precise.
Well, and you listen to some of the other stuff he did with Boss Skaggs and, the Lido Shuffle and just all these things that, Toto was a studio. They were studio guys. That's all they played for everybody. Right. And that's a completely different type of animal too, be able to sit down and just lock into that stuff. And, you see these guys like J.R. Robinson and some of these guys that, you ask J.R. say, how come you work so much other than you're a good player? He said, because I can read like a son of a gun. He says, I can go in, they hand me the chart, I look at it, I nail it, and move on. And they say, well, what about, do they ask you, your opinion, or do you give your opinion? He goes, no, I'm a hired gun. If they ask for it, I tell them. If not, I get through the chart and move on. But these guys read it and just, and they just nail it. And that's a special kind of animal to be able to do that.
Yeah.
That's a tough one,
Yeah. It's like having a live MIDI player without, you just tell them, here's the notes I want you to play, but they play it like a human.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too with those guys was that they may be lesser so than the Wrecking Crew, but I know that the Wrecking Crew, those guys would not go play live because if they couldn't be in the studio for a session, someone else would come and take their job, and that would be it.
Exactly. Exactly. And plus, they were working so much they didn't have time.
Yeah. You can't be on the road, going playing 2-3 states away when you got to be back in the studio in 2 days to do another session.
You're right, to do Hawaii 5 hours or something. So,
exactly. Yeah. Well, Les, it has just been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking some time out, and good luck with the album. I'm glad to see it's doing well.
Oh, well, thank you. It's been great talking to you again and catching up, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I continued luck to you on all the podcasts and all the stuff you're doing up there.
Well, thank you, my friend. You take care of yourself.
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. Bye-bye. Yep, and that's exactly why we've been friends for 30 years. Just listen to the honesty, the decency, the consideration in this guy's voice. Those are the people I like to keep in my circle. There's far too many people that promise you the world that, aren't honest. They'll down talk everyone around them to try and make themselves look better. Les is a straight shooter, great drummer, and great guy, and I'm really happy to have him on the show. So that's about it for this week. Keep your eye out for next week's episode where I review the Stranger Things Season 3 trailer. In the meantime, I got to go write some music and get some other things done. Got to get this album moved forward. Thank you very much for joining me. Remember to leave your feedback or star rating on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, my website. Actually, I don't think I have anything there, but a donate button, so feel free to donate. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.